You know the story, right? We've all heard it. We're trapped. Trapped by these secret algorithms that just feed us exactly what we want to hear, sealing us off from any different points of view. It's a pretty terrifying thought. But is it the whole truth? Let's look past the headlines and dive into the data to see what's really going on with echo chambers and filter bubbles. I mean, it's a question that gets at something we all kind of worry about. Every single time you scroll, are you just being shown a warped reality, one that's perfectly tailored to what you already believe? It's a common fear, for sure. But to get to the bottom of it, we first need to get really clear about what we're actually talking about. So this is the idea that really kicked the whole thing off. The term filter bubble, it was coined by an activist named Eli Pariser. And he used it to describe this fear that personalization algorithms create a unique little personal ecosystem of information for each and every one of us. But here's the thing, that's only half the story. Okay, so this is a really crucial distinction we have to make. A filter bubble, that's the one on the left, it's all about algorithms, and it's passive. It's the internet showing you what it thinks you want to see. But an echo chamber, over on the right, that's driven by us, by human choice. That's when you actively choose to create a feed of voices you already agree with. This difference is key, because one is about code, and the other is about us. So we've got this really powerful story about how technology is dividing us. But what happens when we hold that story up against some actual large-scale research? Well, the evidence might just surprise you.
This is the big question, right? If we're all sealed off in our own little political realities, then we should see huge numbers of people getting their news from only one side of the aisle. So researchers at the Reuters Institute looked at the data across a bunch of countries to find out what's really going on.
Okay, get this. In the UK, the proportion of internet users who are inside a left-leaning online news echo chamber is just 2%. Let that sink in for a second. 2%. And what about a right-leaning echo chamber? It's only a little bit higher at 5%. And research in other European countries shows pretty similar low numbers. Now, the US is a bit of an outlier. The numbers there are higher. But even in the States, it's not the majority of people. So here's the real kicker. Multiple studies, all using different methods, they all point to the same conclusion. Being completely trapped in a partisan media bubble is actually pretty rare. The bigger issue isn't that people are only seeing one side. It's that a lot of people are just choosing to avoid news altogether. This data kind of leads to a new question, doesn't it? If most of us aren't in these super tight bubbles, maybe the story we've been telling ourselves about algorithms being the main villain, maybe it needs a closer look. And here's where it gets really counterintuitive. Far from just trapping us, algorithms can actually increase the diversity of what we read. They call it automated serendipity. You know, when a search engine shows you an article from a source you'd never normally visit. Or there's incidental exposure, which is when you're just scrolling for memes and you happen to stumble across a news story a friend shared. So if algorithms aren't the main cause of these information silos, and might even be a small part of the solution, then we have to ask, what is the real force that's shaping what we see online? Well, the evidence points overwhelmingly in one direction. The main driver of information siloing isn't the supply from platforms, and it isn't the distribution by algorithms, it's us. To put it really simply, the most powerful factor is demand. Our own choices, our habits, our preferences, those are what shape our media environment more than anything else. We're the ones who decide what to click, who to follow, and what to just scroll right past. And what's fascinating is that even when people have really strong political views, research shows they don't necessarily avoid opposing viewpoints. This quote from a study says it all. People might prefer sources that agree with them, but they still get a lot of their news from common, mainstream sources, places that will inevitably challenge their views sometimes. Okay, to make this a little less abstract, let's actually peek under the hood of a real-world algorithm. Researchers did this huge 11-month audit of Reddit's popular feed just to see what actually makes a post trend. So this is Reddit's r/popular feed. It's a page that algorithmically curates what's getting the most attention across the whole platform. Now, the common assumption would be that this is super personalized, just another filter bubble, right? But the data showed something completely different. So what does it take to get on that trending page? Well, the two biggest factors were super simple: a high number of recent comments and a high number of recent votes. It has nothing to do with your personal browsing history or your political leanings.
So the crucial point here is that Reddit's popular algorithm isn't creating some personalized filter bubble for you. It's basically just a popularity contest. It's a real-time ranking of what's getting the most engagement across the board for everyone. It's a shared space, not an isolated one.
All right, so if the problem isn't primarily the technology, but more about human psychology and our choices, then the solution isn't about trying to outsmart some algorithm. It's about changing our own behavior. The real bubble we need to pop is the one we build for ourselves. And the good news is we have a lot of control here. This slide shows some practical steps. You can use tools like ad blockers and incognito mode to limit data collection. And yeah, clearing your cookies every now and then helps. But honestly, the most important things are about conscious choices, actively seeking out different perspectives, and shifting your focus from just passive entertainment to active, intentional learning. Ultimately, it all comes down to this. The most sophisticated algorithm in the world can't force you into a bubble if you are actively curious and willing to engage with ideas that challenge you. The real work, that's internal. And that leaves us with a final and kind of provocative question. If we can't just blame the code, we have to look somewhere else. Is it the political elites shaping the conversation? Is it our own deep-seated psychological need to be right? Or is it simply the price we pay for having limitless choice? The data shows the bubble is smaller than we think, and the door isn't locked by an algorithm. We're the ones holding the key.